Welcome back to the Deep Dive, and a very warm welcome to Wisdom Unveiled. We're really glad you could join us for this, our third deep dive exploring some truly monumental figures in Iranian philosophy.
And before we jump right in, just a quick but important note. This deep dive, like the others, it's based on translations, on reproductions of conversations with, well, eminent Iranian philosophers, specifically Dr. Ibrahim Dinani and Dr. Esmail Manzouri Larijani.
Right.
And while we've absolutely tried our best for accuracy, some concepts, maybe some details, they might not be fully conveyed. So we do apologize in advance for any discrepancies there.
Thank you for that. Okay, so last time we just started to scratch the surface of Ibn Sina's, well, colossal intellect, Avicenna in the West, of course. We talked about him being this global figure, insights echoing through centuries. Today, our mission is really to dig deeper. What made his approach so groundbreaking? We're going to look at his unique philosophical landscape, specifically his fascinating ways of distinguishing types of wisdom.
Yeah, and that fundamental split he makes between existence and quiddity, the essence of a thing.
Exactly. And his ideas about truth, about knowledge itself, these aren't just dusty old concepts. They actually offer some compelling alternatives to, problems that contemporary thought is still wrestling with. They challenge modern philosophy.
They really do. What we're getting into today might actually shift how you think about knowing.
So let's unpack this incredible mind. One of the most amazing things about Ibn Sina is, well, he didn't just walk down the path Aristotle paved. I mean, Aristotle was brilliant, obviously, but Ibn Sina, he went beyond it, didn't he? Forged a new trail. What drove that?
That's a great question. It says so much about his intellectual power. He had this critical sharpness. He wasn't just spotting gaps in Aristotle, though he did that very well. He actively worked to fill them. He saw where Aristotle maybe left off and where he could build something bigger.
So not just a critic, but a real innovator.
Absolutely. He synthesized, he innovated, and crucially, he drew from a tradition that was older, richer in some ways, the ancient Khosrowani wisdom.
Ah, right, the pre-Islamic Persian ideas.
Exactly, that heritage. It was steeped in metaphor, spiritual insight. It really emphasized light, direct spiritual illumination, not just the step-by-step logic of the Greeks.
So more intuitive.
In a way, yes. It's like he took the best of Greek rationality, that analytical power, and fused it seamlessly with this deep, intuitive spiritual insight from his own cultural background. He created something entirely new, a really powerful philosophical synthesis.
That's quite a blend. And he even started categorizing wisdom itself, right? Seeing different paths to understanding, pushing beyond maybe the standard Greek focus on just logical argument.
He absolutely did. He laid out two really distinct, though, complementary types of wisdom. The first he called discursive wisdom, hikmah.
Okay.
This is probably what most of us think of first when we hear philosophy. Wisdom built on logical argument, step-by-step reasoning, discussion, teaching, rigorous analytical thought.
Like building a case, premise to conclusion, constructing a proof.
Exactly that. It's the mind's journey, building knowledge piece by methodical piece. But then, and this is where Ibn Sina's genius really shines, there's intuitive wisdom, hikmah.
Hikmah. Yep.
And this isn't just, the absence of argument. It's like a sudden, undeniable. Well, the word daki relates to taste, a direct apprehension of truth. And Ibn Sina actually placed these powerful intuitive insights among certainties, not just hunches or guesswork.
Wow. So like an aha moment, but one with real philosophical weight, a reliable flash of insight.
That's a perfect way to put it. Imagine it like a rapid, almost instantaneous mental leap to a conclusion. A complex problem just clicks. Now, it can be verified later by discursive reason, sure, but it doesn't need that step-by-step logic in the moment it hits you. It just flashes.
Like recognizing someone instantly. You don't list their features first.
Exactly. It's where mind and heart, reason and direct experience, they just unite in a single immediate understanding. It feels certain right from the start.
That kind of profound blend. It's really something. And this sets the stage perfectly for maybe one of his most monumental ideas, one that tackles a truly fundamental question. What's the difference between something being and what that thing is? This radical split between existence, its being, and quiddity, its essence.
You've hit on one of the most foundational issues in, well, all of philosophy, really. If this distinction isn't clarified, no philosopher can reach a truly solid conclusion, be it philosophical or scientific. Ibn Sina, with that critical sharpness we mentioned, addresses it beautifully. He has this concise statement. It really captures it. We conceive of a triangle and doubt its existence, and that which is conceived is not that which is doubted.
Okay, that's dense. That which is conceived is not that which is doubted. Break that down for us.
Think of it like this. We can fully understand the concept of a triangle, 3 sides, geometric shape, its triangleness, its quiddity, we get that perfectly. But we can still question whether any particular triangle actually exists out there in the physical world.
Ah, I see. So what we understand in our head, the idea of a triangle that's separate from whether it's actually real somewhere.
Exactly. The what of the thing,
Yeah.
its quiddity, is distinct from its existence.
Hmm.
He's separating the concept from the reality it might or might not have.
Okay, let's try that table analogy. We've got this table right here. I'll ask you, and you listening at home, think about this. Is this table existence itself, or does it just have existence?
That's the key question. The table has existence, meaning
Yeah.
the table itself is a quiddity, tableness, and it has existence bestowed upon it, you could say. It exists in reality. But this specific table, it could have not existed, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't always here. It won't always be here.
So its tableness, its quiddity, is different from its being, its existence. It's not identical to existence. It participates in existence.
Precisely. Now, this distinction, it's primarily a mental one, an intellectual one. In external reality, right here, the table and its existence are inseparable. They're one and the same thing. But in our minds, we can clearly pull them apart conceptually. And this principle, he says, applies to everything in what he called the possible world, al-Mumkinat. Everything has existence, but is not existence itself.
Is there any exception? Anything that is existence?
Yes. One crucial exception, God. God is pure existence hasti mas. Therefore, God has no quiddity. God's essence is his existence. They are identical.
Wow.
And this is why our normal human knowledge, what he calls acquired knowledge, which works by perceiving quiddities, well, it can't fully comprehend God's true essence because there's no quiddity there to grasp the usual way.
Okay, that's huge.
And it's worth noting, too, while later philosophers like Mulla Sadra really developed the whole doctrine of the priority of existence, Asalat, al-Wujud, the root, the absolute foundation for that idea, it's undeniably right here in Ibn Sina's distinction. He really laid the groundwork.
That's a massive insight. Okay, so how does this distinction relate to divine creation then? We have that beautiful Quranic verse, the handiwork of Allah, who has made everything perfectly.
Ibn Sina offers another beautiful, clarifying quote here. He says, God did not make an apricot, but rather gave existence to the apricot.
Okay.
Did not make an apricot.
You know, God created the existence of the apricot, not its fundamental apricotness. The essence, the quiddity of apricot, was already, in a sense, known or determined. God brought that specific quiddity into actual being.
So that raises a fascinating question. What did God know, or what was there conceptually before he gave existence to, well, anything?
Exactly. The idea is that all quiddities, all possible things, from the smallest ant to the highest angel, existed in God's eternal knowledge, in the divine mind, you could say. Sufis sometimes call these fixed essences ayan thabitah.
Fixed essence. These essences, as Ibn Sina poetically puts it, had not yet smelled the scent of existence, mashamat raihat al-Wujud. But crucially, nothing else except these pre-known fixed essences had the potential to exist. It's like the blueprints for every possible thing existed in the divine knowledge, just waiting to be actualized, to be given existence.
That's a powerful image, blueprints waiting to be built.
And it's really remarkable, he points out, that only the human intellect, with its power of reason, can actually make this profound distinction between existence and quiddity. An animal experiences the world, but it can't grasp these abstract concepts.
Okay, that's a fascinating way to understand creation and potentiality. Now let's shift slightly, but still stay with these deep fundamentals. What about truth? What did Ibn Sina have to say about what truth haqq actually is?
This is another area where his thought gets incredibly profound. For Ibn Sina, ultimately, there is only one ultimate truth, capital T. While we talk about many truths in our daily lives, this statement is true, that scientific fact is true, all these instances of truth, they derive their truthness from the ultimate source, what he calls the truth of truths, Haqiqat, al-Haqa'iq.
And he uses an analogy to help us grasp this, something about unity.
Yes, a very powerful one. Just as every individual one, like one apple, one person, one idea, gets its oneness, its unity from the concept of pure absolute unity itself,
Yeah.
every individual truth, haqq, gets its truthfulness from pure absolute truth, haqq.
Okay, so there's an ultimate source for both unity and truth.
Exactly. And for Ibn Sina, these concepts, pure truth, pure unity, the truth of truths, they are ultimately identical. And they refer directly to God. God's truthfulness is from himself. He is truth. Other things merely have truth. They receive it as a participation in that ultimate truth.
So this gives a really deep meaning to monotheism, to tawhid.
Absolutely. Tawhid isn't just about God being numerically one, like counting one object. It's about God being the very source, the essence of pure absolute unity and pure absolute truth itself. And these two, unity and truth, are fundamentally equivalent for him. You can't have one without the other at that ultimate level.
It makes tawhid sound incredibly, well, both complex in its implications and yet profoundly simple at its core.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay, this brings us to a really crucial point, I think. How does this ancient wisdom, developed 1,000 years ago, speak to puzzles that, frankly, modern Western philosophy is still grappling with, specifically the very nature of knowledge itself? I understand he offered something like a solution to a dilemma that Western thought, especially after Kant, really got stuck on. What was that core problem Kant identified?
That's a great point. And yes, it's a profound challenge in Western epistemology. Kant, who's obviously a pivotal figure, famously argued that our theoretical reason, our everyday logic, scientific thinking, couldn't ultimately access metaphysics, or what he called the noumenal world, the thing in itself which lies beyond mere appearances. He drew a pretty sharp line.
So our minds can only really know how things seem to us, how they appear, not reality as it truly is in its deepest essence.
That was essentially his conclusion, yes.
Yeah.
And this decision, this limiting of theoretical reason's scope, created what many saw as a deep crisis in understanding knowledge itself. If our standard reason can't touch ultimate reality, how can we truly know anything beyond those appearances? It left Western philosophy with this fundamental, nagging question about what knowing even is.
That sounds like a major philosophical roadblock. So if Western philosophy is still, in some ways, wrestling with this, what did Ibn Sina propose all those centuries earlier?
Okay, here's where his insights become incredibly illuminating, I think, and offer a powerful alternative path. Ibn Sina basically said that acquired knowledge, what he called ilm husuli, needs to be understood properly. This includes all our concepts, propositions, logical arguments, theories, facts, everything we learn from the outside, from books, teachers, experience processed through concepts.
Right, most of what we usually think of as knowledge.
Exactly. But Ibn Sina argued that this kind of knowledge by itself cannot ultimately resolve the deepest questions about knowledge. The mind, he thought, can't fully grasp its own nature or the ultimate nature of knowing just by using its own constructs, these external concepts it picks up. Something more fundamental is needed.
Something beyond just processing facts and ideas, an inner dimension of knowing.
Precisely. And that something beyond, that more direct way of knowing, is what he called presence-based knowledge, ilm Huduri. This is direct, unmediated awareness. It's not about thinking about knowing something, it's just the immediate presence of knowing.
Can you give us an example, something that really makes it click?
Think about your own self-awareness right now, your conscious experience as you listen. You don't need logic or evidence to prove to yourself that you exist, or that you're awake, or that you're feeling a certain emotion, perhaps. You just are aware of it directly. It's fundamental. It's undeniable.
Okay, I get that. It's immediate.
It's immediate. But here's the crucial challenge, and this is key. Ilm Huduri cannot be fully defined or explained using acquired knowledge, using ilm husuli. The very moment you try to put that direct awareness into words, into concepts, into a definition, it immediately shifts back to becoming an object of thought, back to ilm husuli.
Ah, I see. You can't capture the raw experience of being aware with a concept of being aware. It's an experience, an awakening you mentioned earlier.
Exactly. He uses that term tanabu, awakening or noticing. It's a direct apprehension, not a conceptual grasp. And this naturally leads to the question, well, how can we actually cultivate this?
Yeah.
Is there a practical way to access or strengthen this ilm huduri?
Did he offer anything like that, a technique?
He did. A powerful mental exercise. Actually quite practical. Imagine you're trying to figure out who you truly are at your very core. You might start lifting things. Your job, your nationality, your family roles, your political beliefs, your memories, all the facts you know about yourself, everything you've acquired.
Okay, all the labels and external definitions.
Right. Ibn Sina suggests, just as an exercise, mentally putting all of that aside for a moment, bracketing it off, as later philosophers might say, temporarily set aside all those accumulated inputs, labels, learned information, concepts about yourself.
What are you left with then?
Just pure awareness, pure being, that feeling of simply being aware before you attach any labels to it. That, he suggests, is the knower, separate from all the things known that raw, fundamental awareness. That's the core of Ilm Huduri. It's not about emptying the mind entirely, perhaps, but about discerning the essential knowing subject from all the objects of knowledge and experience we pile up.
That's a really profound exercise, just stripping away the acquired layers to find the awareness underneath. And this deep understanding of knowledge, both acquired and presence-based. It even seems to color how he understood divine attributes, right? There's that beautiful quote about God's wisdom and action.
Indeed, there is. Ibn Sina states that God is wise in his knowledge and firm-wise in his action. Now, that word translated as firm, mutqan or mukam, is absolutely crucial.
How so? Firm sounds maybe rigid, strong?
Yeah, that might be your first thought, yes. But Ibn Sina insightfully connects its root meaning back to hikmah, wisdom.
So firm here also carries the meaning of wise or perfectly executed through wisdom.
That's precisely his insight. Therefore, God's actions aren't just displays of power or unbending decrees. They're always fundamentally governed by wisdom, by hikmah. This implies that every divine action is perfectly proportionate, perfectly appropriate, perfectly aligned with what is truly right, merciful, and just in any given situation. It suggests a universe where everything unfolds not just by might, but with an inherent underlying perfect wisdom.
That completely reframes how one might think about divine power or divine justice. It's not just strength, it's perfect appropriateness, ultimate sagacity in every single act.
Exactly. It reveals a wisdom embedded in the very fabric of action.
So, as we start to wrap up this deep dive,
Yeah.
well, we've journeyed through some incredibly complex, but I think equally illuminating terrain. We saw how Ibn Sina didn't just follow Aristotle, he built upon him, transcended him, bringing in this unique blend of discursive and intuitive wisdom.
Opening that path to direct insight, hikmadaki.
Right. And then that fundamental distinction between existence and quiddity, understanding God as pure existence and truth, and then diving into Ilm Huduri, presence-based knowledge, which really does offer such a compelling perspective, maybe even an alternative, to some of these ongoing struggles in Western philosophy about knowing.
And reflecting on all this really raises a vital question for all of us today, doesn't it? For you listening right now. In our world, just completely saturated with acquired information, facts, data, opinions flying everywhere, how can you apply something like Ibn Sina's parenthesis exercise in your own daily life? How can you cultivate that critical, discerning mind, yes, but also that deeper inner awareness to move beyond just stacking up more facts, more ilm husuli, to truly begin to know both yourself at that fundamental Huduri level and perhaps also sense the deeper wisdom embedded in the world around you? It's really about trying to find that core essential awareness beneath all the layers of what we think we know.
That is a wonderful and challenging thought to carry with us. Thank you so much for guiding us through that. And thank you all for joining us on this deep dive into Wisdom Unveiled. We promise to continue this exploration of Ibn Sina next time, uncovering even more of his unique, fresh, and profoundly insightful ideas. Until then, keep questioning, keep exploring, and keep seeking that deeper wisdom.